We start with a case history. A 55-year-old male was brought to the ICU, intensive care unit, in a gasping state of breath. The doctor observed a pink frothy sputum from him. He was treated with diuretics and other appropriate mode of treatment. History revealed that the patient was a known hypertensive on irregular treatment. In spite of the intensive care, the patient succumbed to death. And the autopsy findings revealed. Incidentally, this is a couple of mail that you people see on the screen. And if you are interested in a book called Tips, Topics in Pathology for Students, you can kindly contact this for further details. Coming back to the autopsy findings, this was it. So there was a frothy sputum, and this is an organ change. I'm not going to tell you, but I hope you people will be able to make a diagnosis. Yes, it is a case of pulmonary edema. And the topic for the day is edema. Welcome to Rats in Pathology, racing against time for students in pathology. The subjects involved and the mode of questions are given here very clearly. I would like you people to kindly pay enough attention to it. This topic is of paramount importance, and it can be an essay, short note, MCQ, and whatnot. Definitions are definitions. Edema can literally mean a swelling. Okay, it is a swelling, but that it is not it. Edema is defined as an increase in the fluid in the interstitial space or the body cavities. Edema is defined as an increase in the fluid in the interstitial space or the serous body cavities. Effusion, on the contrary, is just a collection of fluid in the body cavities. They are two different terms. And effusion means it can be a hydrothorax within the pleura, hydropericardium within the pericardial sac, hemopericardium or ascites in the peritoneal cavity. I am showing you two different pictures. What is your observation? What are the differences? Are they analogous to anything? I would like to call one as an exudate and another as a transudate. Let us see what it means. This is a very simple tabular column, kindly by heart, given well in my book on Tips, Topics in Pathology for Students. And these are the various differences between transudate and exudate. Always when you name them, you think of the characteristics and the terminology beneath. Cause, it is usually an inflammatory process. Exudate is an inflammatory process. Transudate is non-inflammatory. Mechanism, again, here it is seepage, whereas here there can be a breakage in the capillaries. Appearance is clear. Here it can be cloudy, purulent, or hemorrhagic. Specific gravity is less, more. Protein, less than 2 grams, more than 2 grams. Cell count is low, high in a case of exudate. The type of cells are lymphocytes and mesothelial cells. Here, neutrophils and acute inflammation, and lymphocytes and chronic inflammation. Bacteria, absent, usually present in an exudate. LDH levels are low, it is high. And examples are congestive cardiac failure. Here it can be an acute appendicitis. Pitting usually can be elicited in a transudate, not in an exudate. As a clue, you people remember excess. Everything is in excess in exudate. And reduced in transudate. For example, color is dark, cells are increased, specific gravity is more, cell count is more, etc. Coming to the types of edema, it can be basically a pitting edema and a non-pitting edema, or it can be generalized and localized. This is one form of classifying based on the morphology and the distribution. Another way of classifying is based on the etiology. It can be divided into a cardiac edema, renal edema, lymphatic edema, and nutritional edema. Look at this one, it is pitting. When there is going to be a sustained pressure, it displaces the fluid, causing pitting. And it takes some time for the fluid to be restored here, and the pitting persists. This, on the contrary, is a non-pitting edema. Even if you apply pressure, there is no pit to be formed, there is no displacement of fluid. This is classical of filariasis. Look at this one, it is a filarial leg and gradually evolving into something like this. It can sometimes be seen in the scrotum also, filariasis. Why? Because there is a lot of fibrosis that is being caused by chronic inflammation, and it is that fibrosis that is causing a swelling or an edema. Look at this. And generally, doctors, please remember, an edema, a pitting edema will be bilateral, whereas a filarial edema is unilateral. And why is it called elephantiasis? I hope you people can compare both. Resembles an elephant's leg, and hence the term elephantiasis. This is a picture of an arteriole, a capillary, and a vene. At the arteriolar end, you find that the blood pressure is more, around 40 millimeters of mercury, whereas the colloid osmotic pressure is less. At the venular end, on the contrary, the colloid osmotic pressure is more and the blood pressure is less. And these are the two forces which will decide the inflow and the outflow of blood. This is called Starling's hypothesis. We shall come to that later. And incidentally, once again, this is the email you people will have to contact regarding the book tips. This condition is called anasarca. Anasarca means the generalized edema in the periorbital region, in the peritoneal cavity, as well as the extremities. It can occur in conditions such as nephrotic syndrome due to the retention of sodium. Also, it can be seen in malnutrition. This, on the contrary, is an ascites. Ascites is a localized collection of fluid in the peritoneal cavity. There are various causes for that we shall be seeing. And one of the features of ascites is you find that there is a flattening of the umbilicus. Sometimes there can even be protrusion of the umbilicus in this. And then there is an engorged vein that can be seen. There are many features I will not be going into. These are the various causes for the hydrostatic pressure. It can be congestive cardiac failure, pericarditis, cirrhosis of the liver, venous obstruction, etc. I would like you people to kindly by heart the entire list. Arteriolar dilation, and in heat or burns, it can occur. This particular picture over here is called the puddle sign. Earlier, I showed you a picture of profound ascites. Here also there is an ascites, but the fluid is minimal, as little as 100 ml, which can be demonstrated by means of the knee-elbow position. And a shifting dullness is elicited, called the puddle sign. Otherwise, for ascites, we should have a minimum of 500 ml to be diagnosed. Other diagnostic parameters are ultrasound. This is a portal hypertension I have been talking about. This itself can be a question. Hence, I pray that you people by heart this particular flow diagram. So this is a liver, there is an increased pressure, cirrhosis can be one of the causes, and this can lead to a variceal bleeding, and whatever it is, there is a portal hypertension, and this leads to dilatation of the venules, and there is also retention of fluid because of the hypertension, and this can also lead to systemic vasodilatation, activating the renin-angiotensin mechanism as well as the nervous system and promoting antidiuretic hormone. This can lead to ascites, hyponatremia, and hepatorenal syndrome. So this is a very important clinical picture. You people can make use of it for your medicine also. Lot of causes are there. Portal hypertension by itself is a question, and it shall be dealt with or has already been dealt with. The other cause of edema will be reduced plasma oncotic pressure. Protein-losing glomerulopathy, liver cirrhosis, malnutrition, and protein-losing enteropathy. All these can be causes for reduced plasma oncotic pressure. Lymphatic obstruction. Whenever there is a localized lymphatic obstruction, one cause is filariasis, but that will result in fibrosis. In this case, I am finding a pair of hands, rather two pairs of hands. One is normal, the other is swollen. One is normal, the other is swollen. These are cases of patients who had undergone radical mastectomy with removal of the axillary group of nodes. Therefore, there is a swelling. So, post-surgical lymphatic fibrosis, neoplastic infiltration, and sometimes because of irradiation or surgical removal, there can be edema. This can be lymphatic cause. So this is what we had been speaking about earlier, the lung and on opening. Obviously, it is an autopsy because the lung is there and it is showing pink frothy sputum in the tracheobronchial tree. And microscopically, these are the alveolar spaces. These are the alveolar septae and they are having red spaces. No, they are engorged capillaries. Engorged means swollen with blood because of stasis. And there is a permeation of fluid into the alveolar space. This should be as white as this, but it is showing a pink frothy fluid. And it is a transudate initially. A few RBCs may be seen, no inflammatory cells. But when it is persistent, you find that macrophages will come to engulf the RBCs, and these cells are called the heart failure cells. It is again a question for you people. Heart failure cells seen in left heart failure, there can be a pulmonary edema, macrophages having hemosiderin-laden macrophages, hemosiderin pigmentation. And the causes are there. And what are the features of it? It can occur in left heart failure. The lungs are boggy and heavy. Crepitation can be there. There is a noise that can be elicited. Pink frothy sputum, septal congestion, transudate, heart failure cells, brown induration. Pulmonary edema itself is a question for you people. I hope you people can answer it quite well. Causes of edema, courtesy from Robbins, this flow diagram. It can be because of heart failure. Whatever be the cause of heart failure, there are two things. One is an increase in the capillary hydrostatic pressure. This can lead to edema. Capillary hydrostatic pressure leading to edema. Second one is renal blood flow is reduced. There is an activation of the renin-angiotensin mechanism, retention of sodium, increased blood volume, edema. Very simple, please remember it, very useful. Other conditions are malnutrition, then reduced hepatic synthesis, nephrotic syndrome, all leading to hypoproteinemia or decreased plasma albumin. And this can lead to reduced plasma oncotic pressure leading to edema. Starling's hypothesis. Renal failure, sodium retention, again leading to edema. Please remember this flow diagram. Etiopathogenesis of edema, you draw this, you get 90% marks. Pathogenesis of cardiac edema, the same thing I have mentioned over here. What are all the various causes? What is the mechanism? Which is again given over here. Kindly read this. And causes of edema, the types and pathogenesis. Local obstruction, venous hypertension leading to hydrostatic pressure, edema. Cardiac failure, venous hypertension, hydrostatic pressure, edema. Cirrhosis, hypoalbuminemia. Nephrotic syndrome, hypoalbuminemia. Decreased colloid osmotic pressure, edema. Infection, there can be inflammation, exudate, edema. Injury, again, inflammation, exudate, edema. Tumor or dissection of the lymph nodes, there can be blockage of the lymphatics, raised oncotic pressure, edema. Surgical removal, block dissection we call, that can also lead to edema. This again is a beautiful diagram for you people to recall and draw if necessary. Coming to the renal edema as such, this is indicating the kidney. There can be extrinsic renal pathogenesis, renal ischemia, reduced sodium, angiotensinogen increased, angiotensin 1, 2, aldosterone, and the retention of sodium and water. Or intrinsic mechanism, hypoperfusion, baroreceptor, sympathetic and neural, re-stimulation, decreased filtration, and decreased sodium and water excretion. This can lead to edema directly. Antidiuretic hormone again can lead to increased retention of water, leading to an edema. So this particular mechanism is mandatory. Sometimes they can ask you renal edema, sometimes they can ask you cardiac edema, or sometimes edema itself generally as an essay. It will look a little complex, but definitely if you people study this, you will get the dividend. Stallings hypothesis. As I said, increase in the hydrostatic pressure or decrease in the oncotic pressure or both. So this is the arteriolarian, this is the venularian. Normally when there is a fluid moving outside, that is drained by the lymphatics into the venous system. Generally your Robin says, these two put together, it is 12 plus 2 is equal to 14. The arteriolar pressure is equal to lymphatic pressure plus the venule. So when it is in excess of this, it gets accumulated in the interstitium or the body cavities. Therefore, it is edema. Stallings hypothesis, please do remember. Nephrotic syndrome, already it is mentioned. I will not be repeating it, but it is a nice flow diagram for you people to draw. So also the cardiac edema. Very simplistic, and you people can draw this one. So coming to edema, what are all the subheadings that we should remember? Think of the subheadings. The subheadings will take you to the answer. Definition, causes, types, pathogenesis, organ changes, complications. Mentioned very well in the book on tips. And these are the couple of mails which you people can contact. I would advise the exam going students not to change the book. But any of the new entrants, such as the BDS students, or the forthcoming MBBS students can have a try at it. They can go to this mail and get the details. Mercy.